Seth frickin' Rollins. Is
Indeed.
that Seth frickin' Rollins right there? Look at him. You have never looked better. You are headed toward all-time greatness in this sport. You will never have a better move than the one off that fat guy when you jumped off his belly in a group of about 12 wrestling fans. I don't know if that was at the start of your career, but I am thrilled to be talking to you. You are you are on your ascent. WrestleMania is April 1st and 2nd in Los Angeles. We are Mike Ryan is a giant wrestling fan. I can't believe how much the sport has changed, where the athleticism and the risk and the danger is greater than anything I've seen before. So, Seth, thank you for being on with us. We appreciate you joining us. You look splendid, sir.
Well, thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I do look splendid. I can see you guys here on my little monitor. You look all right. You look splendid in your own way.
I think you're lying to me. You're fraud. You're fraudulent.
Do you judge how people dress? Because, like, I'm not going to lie. I came today and I'm like, do I do glasses? Do I do contacts? Like, what do I wear? Because I don't want to be publicly shamed.
No, absolutely not. I place no judgment outwardly on how anybody. And most of the time, I am in Walmart sweatpants and a T-shirt. That is my uniform of choice 92% of the time, except for when you see me like this. So I'm one extreme or the other. I place no judgment either way.
Are you surprised at where your career has arrived, or is it still on the ascent? When you dreamed of being a professional wrestler for a living, did it look like this?
Gosh, man, I've been super fortunate to be involved in a lot of incredible moments over the course of I've been wrestling for nearly 2 decades, 10 years with WWE. I think in some capacity, you have to imagine yourself at the very tip top of your profession to have the success that you want. But there's so many things I've been able to do that I never would have even fathomed. They would have never been on a bucket list, even for me as a huge wrestling fan. So yes and no, I guess, is a kind of 50-50 answer there.
Well, give me a couple of the things, though, where even you are awed by where the career has taken you. Give me a couple of the bucket list things that weren't even on your bucket list because you didn't think to dream them.
I mean, I think everybody dreams about, at least in our industry, for example, if you're a football player, you dream of winning the Super Bowl. I dream about, being a WWE champion. And for me to be able to do that at the peak at WrestleMania in the main event, and to do it the way I did it, if you're familiar with my moment, I cashed in what we have, a Money in the Bank contract in the main event of WrestleMania, which has never been done in the history of that contract or that event. So to be able to do that and go off WrestleMania as the heavyweight champion and create a moment that lives forever, that's something that's super special. To get the opportunity to be in the ring with legends and Hall of Famers like Triple H or Sting, to do segments with the late great Roddy Piper, to get trained by the American Dream Dusty Rhodes, stuff like that. I got to be involved in a segment recently at Raw's 30th anniversary show where I was in the ring with D-Generation X and Kurt Angle. And that's something that you don't even imagine it's going to happen. You think, these guys are so far away from where I'm at age-wise that it just doesn't seem like a remote possibility. And then, to have it happen, or be in the ring with Jake the Snake Roberts and the Python, stuff like that. You just don't ever expect that to happen to you. And so to be able to do that has really been above and beyond whatever my childhood dreams were.
You believe that being Money in the Bank champion at WrestleMania is a bigger moment for you than the one when you saw a fat fan and then did a somersault jumping off of his belly into another man in front of 12 or 15 fans? You believe WrestleMania was better than that moment?
Look, there might have been 50 fans in attendance that night, wherever we were at, Hammond, Indiana, Midlothian, somewhere in some UAW hall or something, wherever it was. I don't know. At this point, the video in question, the backflip off the fan's belly, might be as viral as the WrestleMania moment. It's one of those that continues to pop up. Like every 6 months to a year, I see it pop up, and it reaches a new audience. So that sort of has lived in infamy, much bigger than I expected at the time. When I did it, I was 19, so social media didn't even really exist at that time. So I didn't expect it to go past a couple guys who traded it on DVD and talked about it on message boards,
But tell us, during that time in your career, Seth, what was the roughest of it as you tried to make your dream something that was real? Like, when you were driving back and forth to train with Danny Daniels in the wrestling school, how many hours were you going back and forth? Like, how awful was some of the stuff you had to do to crawl to the top of that profession?
I mean, if you go in retrospect, it doesn't seem that awful. It all seems like a means to an end, and there's tons of memories and good things to go along with it. If I put myself back in my shoes of being 19, 20 years old, losing money pretty much every weekend, driving 8 to 10 hours sometimes on my own. The worst part of it was when I would have to get back on Monday morning to make sure that I made my classes at the community college, or that I made my shift at the UPS so that I could pack all those trucks at 5 in the morning or whatever it was, so I could make money to then go, follow my pipe dream on the weekends and wrestle in front of, like you said, 15 or 20 people for no money. A handshake and a hot dog was the payment. But I think just fighting through the injuries at that point, not being able to take time off because you were afraid if you missed a show, you'd miss an opportunity to meet somebody or to get ahead in the industry, and having separated shoulders or broken jaw and having to wrestle through that, not being able to have the rehab or the time off to recuperate was really mentally exhausting for someone who had never experienced that before.
I know from your Twitter account that you're a massive football fan. I don't know if you're an Iowa Hawkeye fan. If so, how much? How bothered are you by their offensive coordinator? And just watching them, it is painstaking.
It is brutal. Watching that team last year with one of the best defenses in all of college football and not being able to claw out, any amount of wins. The fact at the end of the year that we were still almost in the Big Ten title game, and just unable to score points it was so painful to watch. It was, I can't even describe it. It was like a needle to the eye, just a slow insertion. It was so painful. And they restructured Brian Ferentz's deal, I believe, recently too, where he gets some incentive if he gets the team 25 points or something like that.
That's right.
Per game.
That's correct. You're not making that up. That's absolutely correct.
I'm not making that up. It seems asinine to even have this conversation, but that's where we're at with Iowa football. And it complicates things, obviously, that he is the head coach's son. That nepotism in there is real tricky. It's a weird situation. I don't love it. And I love Iowa football. I hope that they can get it together. So we'll see what happens. It's crazy.
In the last 20 years, Seth, when you think of the physical pain involved with what you do, and I didn't realize that you were doing this at 19 in a way that had to, grind through injuries. What do you look at the craziest of the stuff that has hurt where you're like, my God, I question my own judgment?
Oh, man. I've taken a couple of falls off the side of Hell in a Cell structure. And for those who do not know, that is just a giant cage that wraps around our ring for some special Hell in a Cell matches. And I have fallen off the side of that a couple of times through our announce desk. And the most recent, which was, I'd say, 5 or 6 years ago at this point, I thought that was it. I thought I'm never getting up. That's the end of it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to move my legs after this. It was so painful that I thought, well, maybe I'll just never wrestle again.
Was it worth it?
No.
Oh.
That one was not worth it. That wasn't even my match. I wasn't even involved in the Hell in a Cell match. It was a match between Roman Reigns and Braun Strowman, and there was a bunch of calamity at the end, and somehow I ended up on the top of this cage, falling off the side of it, taking a huge bump that I didn't need to take or want to take, and it wasn't even my match. So no, it was not worth it at all. That was a terrible decision. I wish I hadn't have done it, but here we are. I'm still doing it in the prime of my career, feeling better than ever. So, like I said, a lot of stuff in the past. In retrospect, it all just feels like a means to an end. So I can't complain. I've lived a blessed life, had a blessed career.
That sounds like you're ready to just die in a match, which isn't great.
No, it's a terrible feeling. I've had that experience physically and emotionally. Sometimes you're out there and the crowd is just thinking about doing other stuff and it's not fun. So yeah, wrestling is the best when you're engaged with your audience and they're partying and you're partying and everybody's having a good time. When it's the opposite of that and you're in pain and they just want to go home, it sucks.
Would you get bit by a snake? Like if you did something with Jake the Snake, would you let the snake bite you?
Oh, man. So one of my biggest phobias is snakes because of the Macho Man Randy Savage, Jake the Snake Roberts angle from the mid-'90s where, Jake had the cobra
and it didn't
on
let
Randy's
go.
arm. Yeah, and it wouldn't let go, and Jake's trying to pull it off. I have nightmares over that still. So if there was ever a time where I had to be bitten in the arm with a cobra, whether it was defanged or not, that might be it. That might be it for me. I might just tap out right there.
What hurts more, the bump off the side of Hell in a Cell or watching Brian Ferentz's offense?
Well, I'm going to go with the offense, to be honest with you. The bump, at least, it's one and done. It's over. You put some ice on it, take a little Advil, you'll be okay in a few days. But you have to watch that offense week after week after week after week, just praying it's going to get better, and nothing happens. So that's like a painstaking 3-month process. And then you have to hope that the next season there's some sort of improvement. And God bless, everybody on that team's trying so hard. They're doing their best, but it just wasn't working this season. Let's hope, knock on wood, next season is better, or we got to move in a different direction. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about that.
You giving him another season? You're giving Dad another season? They did give him a $50,000 pay cut and then tied his bonuses to if you score 25 points, we'll give you more money.
Would you get bit by a snake if it meant scoring 25 points in a football game for the Iowa Hawkeyes?
Every yes, I would sacrifice my own well-being if we could get an Iowa team that put up points. I would do that. I would do that for my people. That's how much I love Iowa. That's how much I love the Hawkeyes. But write it down, mark it up. If you got a cobra, obviously devenomed. I don't want it. I'm not sacrificing my life. No.
Don't put this out there because you will have people approach you with cobras to bite you.
Who just walks around with a cobra? People just
Jake
be
Roberts.
walking around with cobras.
People in
Well,
Arizona.
it's on their shoulders.
Yeah, two different things. Different things, I think.
And Jake Roberts, well, it's not a cobra, I guess, with Jake. Well, I
Steve
guess
Martin.
Python. His is a
sometimes.
python.
No,
Yeah,
I was saying it to him because I wasn't sure that he heard
Right,
you.
well, I'm glad. He might be confused as to why Steve Martin's walking around with a cobra.
Can you explain to us, Seth, the most scared you've been? Because I really am amazed at where wrestling has gone, and I wonder what Jake the Snake and Dusty Rhodes think of how acrobatic and how totally insane the tricks, the stunts are now that you guys are doing. What's the most scared you've been before having to do something?
Heights are terrifying. Oftentimes, in these matches with this cage or a ladder or whatever, you'll look up at it and you'll go, oh, that's not so bad. That doesn't look too bad. And then the minute you start to ascend, say, a 10-foot ladder, and you're up there and you're now looking down at the mat, it's a totally different perspective. It looks so much worse from up to down as opposed to down to up. So there's so much fear involved in the height, and knowing how much it hurts just to fall from my feet to my back, adding some sort of elevation to that is usually terrifying for me. So anytime we have ladder matches, I hate getting hit with any object that's made of steel and doesn't budge. That's not fun. Like I said, the cage matches, being on top of the cell, just like walking around on the cell. And look, we have the best team in the world. They've got it set. Like, it's not going to break unless you want it to break there. But walking around on mesh fence, like 26 feet in the air, looking straight down, just feels uneasy. It feels like you're a tightrope walker, and that thing could bust at any second. So there's a substantial amount of fear that goes into anything related to being above the ground suspended like that.
What does getting hit with a kendo stick feel like? Seems not fun.
No, it's
you're
not,
not
it's
supposed
not
to hit
fun.
people with these things,
No.
like chairs and those.
No, you're definitely not. They're not. A chair is meant to be sat in.
Yeah,
That's what
stop
it's for.
signs are for traffic.
Yeah. Kendo stick, I actually think it is for hitting, right? It's for discipline in martial arts, I believe. But anyway, it's not uncomfortable. It feels like a series of bee stings. So wherever it touches you, it just feels like a horde of bees hit you at one time, and then it leaves a mark and it stings. It's not fun. No, none of it is ideal.
Thumbtacks in your back fun?
So fortunately for me, 20 years, knock on wood, never had to deal with thumbtacks. Not my cup of tea. Some people love that hardcore sort of stuff. Not for me. So, we'll stay away from that. Hopefully nobody's walking around with a bag of thumbtacks like they are cobras in your world.
WrestleMania, April 1st and 2nd, SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Seth frickin' Rollins. Last thing, we'll let you go on this note. The Rock has told us the story of being on the top turnbuckle, and he didn't realize while posing and preening that what he called one of his boulders was hanging out of the bottom of his shorts. It was very embarrassing for him. Hulk Hogan has told us the story of drinking too much on a Tokyo flight, getting his stomach stepped on, and shitting his yellow Hulkamania shorts. What represents Seth Rollins' most embarrassing moment in wrestling in 20 years?
Oh, man. I mean, aside from probably some of my early matches that were just completely unwatchable at this point in my life, I've been fairly fortunate. There's one sort of infamous botch that I've had over the years. I used to be part of a group called The Shield. We were 3 badass dudes. We wore like SWAT gear. We came in through the crowd. We had this sick music. We were like mercenaries. And there was one time, this is probably circa 2013, 2014-ish. We're coming down through the crowd, and I had to go over the barrier, and I don't know what happened or why it happened, but I caught the top of it, and I just totally biffed it. So we're coming down looking like we're about to destroy some dude in the ring. We're all tough, we're all bad, hair looking great, beard looking strong, crowd going ham, and I go to clear this easy little barricade that I've cleared a gazillion times, and I didn't poop my pants. My boulder didn't fall out of my drawers, but falling on your face like an idiot when you're supposed to be a badass in front of 10,000 people in person and then millions of people watching at home. Not my finest moment. And then trying to recover from that and turn back into this cool badass dude that's gonna kick somebody's butt didn't pan out too well. So you can probably find that somewhere. Lives on YouTube. But yeah, that was pretty brutal. There's a lot of shame involved with that one.
WrestleMania, April 1st and 2nd, SoFi Stadium, Los Angeles. Thank you, Seth. Good seeing you.
Dude, thank you guys.
You displayed exactly why you're not there and why you're here with the Sandman.
Right.
Well, let me explain to the audience what's happening here behind the scenes, because it'd be hard for me to be more frustrated about everything going on at Metal Media, given that I think this entire week is profoundly stupid, and I've never liked anything around it. And now we're spending tens of thousands of dollars to have people there who, as of this minute, have done nothing but actively annoy our listeners. We lost an hour yesterday. God Bless Football was supposed to exist. Lost an hour of show. Today, the show, people are getting it at all sorts of weird times because we have spent way too much time trying to wrangle God Bless Football out of what's coming today. And can you get us somebody who's not radioactive? Can you get us somebody who's not being used on Radio Row for a literal sports whitewashing that's happening right in front of our face, where everybody's like, all right, back to normal? Slapped your wife? Want to get back in the game? So we will talk to Billy, hopefully, Stugotz, maybe Juju. I'm told Juju's been a star. Maybe we need to talk to just Juju. Maybe we just need to send Juju to places so that
God bless Juju.
So we could get things done around here. But Billy and Stugotz allegedly will be joining us here in about 10 minutes or so. Again, though, I do want to go back for just a second because I don't want to skip past greatness in sports when it makes an appearance, and we should all celebrate that we are seeing something that in this arena that we care about, greatness, historic excellence, that we not spend so much time, like we have the last 20 years, wondering if LeBron James can actually be the best and just celebrating for a day the idea that he might be. The idea that we may be witnessing something in basketball greater than anything we've seen from a 16-year-old kid who was promised to be great and achieved beyond what the expectations were. He was the most hyped prospect in the history of sport, and I don't think that we can say he underachieved. I think he overachieved beyond the expectations, and somehow still does. And even if the back half of the career has some losing in it and the Lakers kind of stink and he's older, the excellence should be celebrated, because in the modern age, there have been very few athletes on and off the court who have been as strong as this human being is.
Had every chance to be a child star in basketball. Like a child star, television-wise, acting in the 90s, that ends up, it all goes wrong, and you go, whoa, what happened? He had so much talent. And every step of the way has proven that he has been one of the greatest basketball players of all time. And I was even surprised. I know that, basically the Lakers postgame show didn't even mention the fact that they lost the game, but I was surprised in listening to a few podcasts this morning and reading some of the coverage, how much of the conversation was about the fact that this is not a good team. They actually slipped further into 13th by not being able to win that game against Oklahoma City last night. And what are they going to do before the trade deadline and all this stuff? And you just come to the realization we stink at being able to positively glorify somebody who is a figure of controversy. It's difficult to be able to talk about things in a way that's, how great is this guy? So great. How even greater than you could have ever imagined.
It is harder. Are we really saying in the sports industry where we all love sports, we enjoy the escape hatch, we're really saying that at this point, even achievement that looks like nothing we've ever seen before, we can't talk about it and simply celebrate the achievement. We have to move on to the next thing. This has to be a product, does it not, of our attention spans being split, combined with argument culture and social media, so that legitimately Michael Jordan today, the same exact career in every way, would have played out kind of like LeBron's, where we would have spent a lot of time on dad died because of gambling and what happened. He didn't actually die or get murdered because of gambling, but there were a lot of people when that happened pre-social media who were wondering about if he disappeared for 2 years because the league got him away from a Calvin Ridley situation. If Michael Jordan played the exact same career today, we'd find ways to disparage it, right? We'd find ways to make him more human than myth.
He would be the lead on debate shows. And the thing about LeBron is his existence has been debated so much that it's hard to sort of separate that from his achievements as a basketball player, because there's always been a voice to talk him down at every turn, that you sort of lose that, oh, this is one of the greatest players of all time and we should treat him with reverence. At what point in his career has he been treated with reverence? I can't think of that many, including in recent times when these last 5 years with the Lakers, they're on the verge of 2 playoff appearances and 1 title, and that seems like a disappointment.
I would say when he blocked Iguodala's shot and produced an upset, he was we allowed a moment of celebration to genuflect. I think in the context of this week, honestly, that somehow the one who navigated this minefield even better than LeBron James was Tom Brady, because he was less polarizing, less controversial, had fewer positions that he took on anything, benign on purpose publicly. Even now, when you see him talking, he doesn't say very much. And
it's the weirdest thing about Tom Brady's career is, yeah, he has MVPs, but there was always a legitimate argument to be had. Is he the best at it right now? You could make the argument that Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time, and none of the years that he played was he the most talented quarterback on the planet. It is the awe-inspiring thing about LeBron to a degree, but certainly with Tom Brady, is that he was able to excel for so long and outlast his contemporaries and have some more success than any of them, I think, combined. Aaron Rodgers, when it came to talent, at his peak, we'd all say Aaron Rodgers better at the quarterback position than Tom Brady. Even now with Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning back in the day, Drew Brees is more accurate. It's the strangest thing that there weren't a lot of people pounding the table. Tom Brady is the best during his time, like you are with LeBron James, when it's very clear who the best of his time is, and it's LeBron James. He's just competing against Jordan.
It's a random thing to bring up, but it reminds me of in baseball in like the early 2000s, late 90s, Jeter at shortstop. like A-Rod, Nomar Garcia-Parra, guys you might look at and be like, they're better, but then Jeter just did it for so long, won the championships. It was just like, this guy I think is better than them, even though these guys individually might have been more talented.
Well, Tom Brady, though, beat the respect out of the hater and the critic, beat the respect out of everybody. LeBron, I would argue that he did it too, but the critic does not go quietly because the critic gets to hold Michael Jordan against him the way Joe Montana is not held against Tom Brady.
And he gets to LeBron has been held to the standard of you should win the title every year since he made it to the finals for the first time in 2007. So every subsequent year, if you're healthy, you must compete for the title. You are the favorite to win the title, whether it's with Cleveland, with Miami, with Cleveland again, or with the Lakers. He's held to the standard of you must win because Jordan always won. And so he's always being held to this preposterous standard. And yet when he enters the NBA, this is beyond, I think, what a lot of people would have expected, that somebody could even come close to Michael Jordan's career on the basis of how much that hype was.
There are a lot of things that I don't understand about today. I was talking about this. My brother just discovered this recently, and he just simply didn't know anything about it. He's like, Dan, you're telling me that it's popular now, not for necessarily kids to play video games, but for kids to watch kids playing video games, and this has been popular for a while, and it's not something that I understand.
Shout out to GG's every Monday, Dano, on our Twitch channel, by the way.
It's not something that I understand, but something that I have now also aged out of is the speed with which we get bored with even the highest of achievement in sports. Like, you guys were already ready to replace Patrick Mahomes. You might be ready again if he loses in the Super Bowl. That we are getting ready to dispatched with boredom because we need so much stimuli everywhere. If someone's around as often excellent as Patrick Mahomes, who's the next? Where's the next great one? Is it going to be Josh Allen? Is it going to be Joe Burrow? Where can we get to the next one? These dudes have been so excellent for 20 years, for so long, that we get bored faster, I think. Am I wrong about just looking at what I think should be, man, shouldn't this be the height of celebration and something we all love? But no, we're going to rip it apart from every angle and criticize that he's not even in a playoff game this year.
And it's because it's always framed as, well, what's the zag? What's the debating point? That's when all of the ESPN shows turn from being Sports Center and up close and all that stuff to being debate all the time. It's what's the topic? What's the debate? And if they led PTI with Mike Wilbon, who do you think the best quarterback in the NFL is? And he said Patrick Mahomes for 10 straight years. You'd be like, well, it's just not interesting.
Is it that corrosive, though? You guys believe argument culture and argument television is not only that corrosive, but also that persuasive? You believe that they are not a reflection of the times, but rather the instigator that creates the times? Because yes. I think this happens in social media. Like, argument culture is something that was available to us in social media before the height of argument television.
I would go with the reverse order there. I think argument television starts early to mid 2000s and Twitter becomes a big thing in 2010, 2011 in terms of leading conversation on stuff. Yeah, I'm trying to separate like myself in my head. Like, all right, where do I get sports information from? And it's usually social media. And every once in a while, you see people running, like TikTok is good for this. Although you'll just see a 90-second montage of someone's best moments. It's like, look how great this guy is. And I like that about TikTok. But for the most part, it's people with hot takes, the zag. It's conversation that's not, let's praise someone, because it's just not as compelling. It's not as engaging. We're all beholden to engagement.
I would say to you, beyond everything else, because I have said that Michael Jordan has a long list of things that he accomplished, making bald cool, defying gravity. But among the things that LeBron James has overcome in a career that is breathtaking is look at what that argument culture did to the spirit of Kevin Durant, his only real peer. Look at what it made of him to exist in a sphere where all of that was bouncing off him, as Grandpa LeBron still scores the way Kevin Durant does and now breaks all the historic records and endures in a space of judgment that is a lot less hostile and unhappy than his only peers, his only contemporary. I guess Steph Curry
I would
too.
say
Steph Curry too.
Steph's had a totally different experience with it. He's beloved. It's also a personality type. Like Kevin Durant has leaned into it in ways that Steph Curry has chosen not to.
So Steph Curry's going to get, because that unprecedented scoring is also going to get boring quickly, is also going to end up, will he navigate all this stuff better than LeBron has? Because he's not been polarizing.
I don't think Steph sets off the excitement as much as he did in 2014-15, that first season when they exploded, and you'd see a tweet, oh, Steph's got 6 threes in the second quarter, and I would run to go turn on the Warriors.
I think there's nothing that you can have a go at Steph. We had the discussion, well, he hasn't been the best in the NBA Finals, and I saw him do it against the Celtics by a fairly wide margin. Okay, no more criticisms, dude. Just the way that Messi did it, just the way that Tom Brady did it, with the biggest comeback in Super Bowl history, and then doing it away from Bill Belichick. For whatever reason, LeBron hasn't quite done it in the eyes of many, even though he's won a championship with every franchise he's ever played with. He's just a lightning rod. Maybe he does it to himself to a degree, but it's where we are as a sports debate culture. I do remember when sports television was just, how awesome is this guy? And it was Michael Jordan benefiting from that. There wasn't any of these things talked about with Michael Jordan. Everyone just understood he's his airness. He's the greatest right now. And you could argue that was boring. I look back on it fondly. I wish that we could be that way and respect people while they're here, because you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it next season if Tom Brady is indeed retired, because you would watch him. Your eyes were fixated on whatever Tom Brady was doing. If he had the ball with 2 minutes left, you wanted to see it. Every moment of his.
He can go. It's enough. It's enough.
Like a Dolphin fan.
I appreciate. I much more appreciate him now than I did when he was with the Dolphins. But he can go.
You're gonna miss it when it's
been
Kyle
enough.
Trask.
It's been enough.
It's wild though. Like what you were talking about, Brady never actually being the best at any one period. He wasn't really viewed as the best quarterback in the league until that Falcons Super Bowl, which was his age 39 season. It wasn't until he was in his 40s.
He's had a Hall of Fame career in every decade.
I know, but like
career.
he
took his third Hall of Fame career for us to be like,
that's pretty good. Yeah, he's good, man. Woo! Yeah. All right, time for a top 5. It's another top 5 this week, and it's a positive top 5. It is my personal favorite top 5 color clashes in Super Bowl history.
Wow. All right, yeah.
You know, Roy, I know you're a uniform nerd about the game, just like I am. And the Super Bowl is an opportunity where the uniforms take the spotlight. And I am happy to announce that from photos that we've seen around Media Day and such, that we're getting green over white for the Eagles and white over red for the Chiefs. So it should really pop on your television screens, and we'll see what history has to say about it. But in the meantime, here are my top 5 uniform color clashes.
You're obsessed with this. You believe you are trying to lead the nation in this take.
Yes, I love it. Me and Dave Dameshak, we love uniform matchups, and it's one of the talking points, whether you like it or not. And a bad color clash can ruin a Super Bowl.
By the way,
absolutely.
This top 5 is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings app and use code LAF to get in on the action.
So we're guaranteed a good color clash, especially with that Arizona turf. The turf has a lot to do with these too. So I'm happy that we're in Arizona for this one. But number 5 on my list, beautiful Qualcomm Stadium. It was Bucks versus Raiders, Super Bowl 37, the red over pewter, the white over silver, the daytime, the pristine weather of San Diego, just a joy to look at. Super Bowl 37 between the Bucks and Raiders is my number 5. Number 4, this is actually the first Super Bowl I can remember watching, and we got this color clash in back-to-back years, Bills versus Cowboys. Super Bowl 27 and 28 is the first Super Bowl I remember watching. Dan, what was the first Super Bowl you remember watching?
Oh, my God. I am going to say Washington against the Dolphins. So that's Dan Marino and Jimmy Cephalo. Is that early?
You old.
Was that? No, Marino played against the Niners.
But Marino
made it to two Super Bowls.
No.
Yeah, and 83.
He made it to
He made it only his rookie year.
No,
and
my
then never again.
My bad. I made it Washington, and I should not have. It was yes, it was Marino against San Francisco. He lost to Joe Montana.
Yeah. So that's the first one that you remember.
Yeah,
That's a
1983.
great memory. That's a great memory. Witty, make me feel old. What's the first Super Bowl you remember watching?
I think it was the one you just mentioned, Bucks Raiders, and at Qualcomm Stadium. That's the first Super Bowl I remember watching.
I was in high school. I was in high school. Tony, just pile on here. What's the first Super Bowl you remember watching?
Pats Rams was the first one I remember watching, and I was like, oh,
What, the one
Brady,
with Jared
pretty
Goff?
good.
The one with Jared Goff? Roy, make me feel better about myself.
Bills Cowboys. That was the Michael Jackson Super Bowl in Pasadena. I believe.
So you remember the Rose Bowl one? They faced off in back-to-back years. The second one was what? Atlanta? It was artificial.
Atlanta. I think
yeah,
it
was
was
a
Atlanta.
dome.
Yeah.
Chris Cody, what's the first?
I think
Super
you're
Bowl?
all making this up right now. I don't remember. How am I supposed to remember like my earliest memory?
You don't remember your first Super Bowl start to finish?
I don't.
I
The
remember.
discovery of it, the idea that I'm going to love this thing because I can't believe these two teams are playing for the championship.
What year were you 7?
I was born in '87, so let's do this together.
All right,
94.
so 94 would have been
Three, carry
Cowboys
the
Bills.
We're going to do an
Cowboys, Bills.
investigation of
Do you
what
remember
doesn't
Niners
remember?
remember.
Chargers?
Memory.
Do you remember Niners Chargers? It was in Miami.
Yep.
All right, so let's just say it's
What
that
year
one.
was that? Because I don't remember that at all.
95?
He's also lying. Number 3.
Number 3, the aforementioned misremembered Super Bowl between the Dolphins and Washington football team. They've matched up a couple of times, but my favorite matchup ever was the aqua over white for Miami versus the white over burgundy for the Washington franchise, Super Bowl 17. It's a shame that the Dolphins haven't made the Super Bowl more because their uniforms are perfect for a color clash. Number 2, a Miami-centric Super Bowl and fairly recent. I'm going with Colts versus Saints. The traditional blue over white for the Colts, the white over gold for the Saints, an eye-popping Super Bowl, and I just loved watching it. And with that beautiful Joe Robbie turf at the time.
Yeah.
What is that? That bluegrass that they have over there?
That was the Prince one, right?
Yes.
Rain that
Wait,
day.
no. Prince was Colts
Bears.
I was at that one.
Yeah. Both Peyton Manning's Colts Super Bowls happened in Miami.
So the other one was the Who, right?
The Who,
Yeah.
because I had a wager on how many.
Who?
Okay, Tony, that's actually a pretty good joke by you. And number 1, this is a Super Bowl matchup that I believe might be the most frequent. I'm not sure. I shouldn't be asking that as a question, but Cowboys Steelers, just a classic. The black over gold, the white over silver that doesn't really match their helmets. The Cowboys have a very puzzling uniform combination. None of it makes any sense. But when it's contrasted with another classic uniform like the Niners or the Steelers, it's eye-catching, it's eye-popping. So Cowboys versus Steelers is my favorite color clash matchup in the Super Bowl.
You know the mistake that I made from aging? The mistake that I made, and this has to be happening to other people my age, is that I merged 2 different Dolphin Super Bowl teams. I put Marino on the Dolphin Super Bowl team that played against Washington. He was
So
not.
you remember the Washington?
Yes, I remember Jimmy Cephalo.
David Woodley was a quarterback in that.
I remember John Riggins breaking my heart, and Jimmy Cephalo got me so excited at the beginning of that game because he had like an 80-yard catch, and then later John Riggins broke my heart. But this has to happen to people my age where you remember something from 1983, but you've got players from 1999 on that team.
Yeah, you're merging worlds. I misremembered mine because I just looked them up. The first one that I remember,
Like I said, you guys were all just making it up.
no, I distinctly remember Bucks Raiders. I remember a hint of the final play of Rams Titans of the Kevin Dyson play.
Which play?
OLI.
Which play do you remember?
The Kevin
The-
Dyson.
Kevin
Dyson
Dyson
play.
play, the one at the goal line,
remember
a
it being a
yard
big
from the
deal.
goal
You
Probably
line.
just seen highlights of it. You
Dude,
don't remember
this
it.
is a
It's fine.
bold-
All of you are full of it.
This
Dude, I
is a bold take challenging
but
people's
He
memories.
just admitted to it. He misremembered.
No, but because there was an earlier one. This one I actually genuinely remember following this football season, and because the Ravens smashed the Dolphins in those playoffs, and I remember Chris Berman on NFL Primetime chronicling how good the 2000 Ravens defense was, and so Ravens Giants 2001 is the first Super Bowl that I definitely remember.
I'm
watching.
glad we cleaned all that up. I'm glad that our Super Bowl coverage is so poor that we can't even remember things correctly around here that we
A long time
experienced. We would think that we would be experts on these things, but we bring in our experts from God Bless Football next. It is not surprising that Meadowlark Media has spent a lot of money to send people out to Radio Row, but we didn't have a table, so we had to use a human being yesterday. And Mina Kimes is pixelated because Stugotz, who may have been going out for cigarettes and filed it under I need to get tea, took our video department to go make tea for him. But God Bless Football has now arrived. And even though we've been late and disjointed today, even though God Bless Football should be later in the show, but is now Big Suey, and even though God Bless Football didn't actually exist on our air yesterday and took an hour of what our listener would have wanted, God Bless Football is now here and allegedly ready to correctly cover the Super Bowl. Is that what you are telling me, Stugotz? You are now ready to give the people finally what it's been like to be around Stugotz as he owns Radio Row.
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. I did get tea and cigarettes. I don't know what's going on with this microphone. It's got a weird, I don't know. It sounds weird to me. Perhaps we should fix that. Headed into a 12-hour day. Maybe this one's better. Hold on, Dan. Oh, this is so much better, Billy. Oh, this is so much better. Dan, we are here. We are ready to go. We are excited. I had a little chat with Christopher Mad Dog Russo. We shared tea together. He's coming on later today. And so, the big game is just a couple of days away, but we are here. God Bless Football is here, and Billy and I are going to attack Radio Row the way God Bless Football attacks everything.
We're on our best behavior, though. Yeah. I will say that. We've seen Sean Merriman walk by. We've seen Joe Montana walk by. We have not screamed at any of them.
Joe Montana walk by?
Oh, yeah, you didn't see him?
Oh, my God.
It is noon on Wednesday right now as I speak this. Our listeners were denied an hour yesterday and it got a late start today. And you're telling me noon on Wednesday, God Bless Football now has a functioning microphone and in the middle of Super Bowl week is ready to attack Super Bowl week.
We have 2 functioning microphones and 1 not functioning microphone.
We have a table. We have 2 tables. We have a set courtesy of DraftKings. We have a set here for God Bless Football.
Yep.
We have tons of great guests coming up. I am going to walk Radio Row later today, Dan, because I am telling you, I am no longer hunting people down. People are hunting me down. And every station in America wants me on, and the ones that don't, I'm going to sit down with them anyways. How about that?
Okay, very good. I would not put anything past you or beneath you this week. I believe that you were able to attack Radio Row from every angle. Can you guys tell the people what it is they will be getting from God Bless Football? I hate this week. I hate the infomercial nature of it, the capitalistic commercial nature of it, how everybody's a shill for the NFL, but you guys don't mind being shills for the NFL.
Dan, quick update. Sorry, Billy, to cut you off. We just saw Trey Wingo, and if anyone was wondering if Trey was okay since the Super Bowl was held in Miami, he's fine. He walked all the way here to Arizona after drinking many
coughed
shots.
into a microphone?
I think it was our table.
That was not me. It was a different table.
That was Danny. I think the mic might be working again.
Our table just coughed off mic. Trey Wingo is okay after having too many cafecitos. You guys both just saw Trey Wingo. What's coming up on God Bless Football? Who are the exciting people that you talk to?
Oh, that's a great question, Dan. So we're going to talk to Jonathan Taylor. We're going to talk to Deebo Samuel. We may talk to a little bit Christian McCaffrey today. Lots of things. Lots of balls up in the air right now. Lots of seeds have been planted.
Deebo or Dino? How about that?
Stugotz, how did Greg Olsen smell last night?
Unbelievable.
He didn't like
amazing.
Stugotz.
Yeah, he didn't like me too much.
No.
I told him the U was back.
Why did you do that?
I have no idea. But Kevin Olsen, I will tell you this.
Kevin Olsen,
I have no idea what's going on. It's Super Bowl week, Chris. I had Tom Rinaldi, and it's fantastic.
Don't tell them.
Well,
we saw it on social.
Okay. The essay he did on Jimmy Johnson's hair, nothing has made me happier in my entire life. Not even the birth of my own children. Than Rinaldi doing that
unnecessary.
Off the top of his head.
It's not. It's a
you got to throw it in, Dan, for good measure. You do. You have to throw that in.
Okay.
Right.
Greg Olsen, you don't think liked Stugotz, Billy?
No, he seemed annoyed by it. Well, because this is how it worked, and we'll you'll see the full thing. This is how it worked. We were in a line, and you had to kind of talk to the main broadcasters. You had to wait in the line, and you got to choose one to talk to. And Stugotz chose Rinaldi because he knows Stugotz. somewhat, knows Stugotz, and also Rinaldi had a little bit of a shorter line than the rest of them. So he went to Rinaldi and used that as his opportunity to talk to Greg Olson, who was right next to Rinaldi. And Greg Olson saw right through, and he's like, I'm talking to someone right now.
Not surprising. Nothing. We would expect nothing less from Stugotz. He steals guests.
It's such a
from
great
people.
video.
Yes.
He's like talking to Rinaldi. He's like, look how good looking Greg Olson is. To Rinaldi. It's fantastic.
I did that while complimenting Kevin Burkhardt as well.
Oh, my God. The Whoppers he was telling Kevin Burkhardt.
What do you mean the Whoppers? I said he's one of the most underrated broadcasters in America.
And he was happy that he replaced Joe Buck.
Yeah, I am.
I want to be out there so bad.
What is the most uncomfortable he has made you by schmoozing, Billy?
Well, okay, so at the Fox thing, which you will see, there were chairs set up for the different talents on Fox, and one of the chairs was empty, and Stugotz sat in it and just announced to a crowded room, does anyone have any questions? I'm here to answer them.
Wow.
Some people strolled over, Dan. It was very nice.
One person.
Yeah.
Stugotz, you did 15 hours worth of work yesterday, although we don't quite have the proof yet on the feed that you did 15 hours of work yesterday. Yeah. Billy did more because he's wrangling and trying to babysit you. You're about to head into 13 hours of work today as well. What has been the most exciting interaction that you have had? What is the scent that you have sniffed that has smelled the most like football?
Probably, I don't know. What do you think, Bill? I would say Chris Sims for me.
I mean, my God, he's so strong, Dan. Like I give him a hard time all the time, and he grabbed my face, he grabbed my jaw to look at me, and I thought he was going to break my neck.
So the guy you talk to every week and can talk to on the phone or by Zoom every week, Metal Arc Media has spent tens of thousands of dollars to send you out there to hang around with Chris Sims.
No, he blew us off, to be honest.
Yeah, he blew us off.
We
But
didn't
Dan,
even get the time.
we speak to him via Zoom. Chris Sims in person. The Sims, okay, Phil and Chris, they smell like football. They are football. And I am telling you, when he pulls you in for a hug, you can smell the football coming off of Chris Sims's body. You can.
I think what happened, to be honest with you, is Stugotz has forgotten who he's spoken to this week because Mad Dog gave him a hug. And
but
supposedly knows who he is.
Yeah. That was an exciting moment, but it didn't smell like football. So I mean, it smelled like really old cologne.
He also yesterday took Dean Blandino's seat at one point because Dean stood up and he just decided this is my seat now. So things are going well.
Chris Cody, what are you making?
How many seats can you steal in 2 days?
He's just walking around sitting in director's chairs is all he's doing. Saying, does anyone want to interview me? Okay, so now we are ready. This means officially, it took us a couple of days. No?
Let's not overpromise.
All right. Excellent work by you guys.
Figure it out.
All right. Excellent.
Back to you, Dano.